Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, we've got a whole bunch of new card reveals to take a look at from Stellar Miracle / Stellar Crown, which is always nice to see. Got a bunch of new art rares as well, which is nice. The Terrapagos is honestly my personal favorite. Looks absolutely stellar, honestly, for a better word. Looks fantastic. The Hydrapple is also pretty cool. Very mosaic-esque pattern, I guess. And the Noctowl, stashing away some stuff in his nest, which is very cute. But yeah, very cool cards overall. But the first card that we can take a look at here today is this Joltik, which is worth talking about because for a single colorless energy, battery charge says search your deck for up to 2 basic grass energy and up to 2 basic lightning energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. So yes, this Joltik can ramp 4 energy going second, which is a bit wild to be honest. Like, yeah, it's only got 30 HP, which means it's going to be KO'd by literally anything in the game pretty much. And, you don't really want to be giving up a price card like that. But truth be told, the upside is that you're accelerating 4 energy. Now, what could possibly need lightning and grass energy? Well, we do have the Galvantula EX, which was one of the cards that was leaked about a month or so back, so some of you may have seen this card already. But this guy has 260 HP. It is classed as a stellar Pokemon, and it has 2 pretty good attacks. Two good attacks, I would say. Charge Web for a Lightning Colorless does 110, and if your opponent's active is an EX or Pokemon V, it does 220 instead, which is pretty solid damage, but it's mainly here to set up 2 KOs with Fulgurite, which for a Grass Lightning Fighting does 180, and you have to discard all energy from this Pokemon, and during your opponent's next turn, they can't play any items. So why I think this card is really good is that you just swing for 220 most of the time with Charged Web, and then you finish off something like a Charizard, or basically anything that you can't really KO, so like an Arceus, for example. You finish them off with Fulgurite, and thus your opponent has to now respond with their next attacker, set up a new Pokemon potentially, and they don't have access to items, so they can't play Red Candy, they can't play Ultra Ball, things like that. So yeah, I do think this card has a lot of serious potential, and when I first looked at this card when it was leaked, I mentioned the fact that you could pair this up with stuff like Frostlass and electric generators, like a bit of more of a obvious one, but Frostlass for sure because you don't have abilities, so maybe there's a world where you try and play like a Galvantula quad deck maybe with crushing hammers, and I guess Frostlass turns it into not a quad deck if you want to be pedantic, but yeah, good place with Frostlass basically to sprinkle some more damage. So yeah, I think that has solid potential, but yeah, mainly because Joltek is just evil. Like 4 energy is kind of absurd. Like they didn't have to give this, this could easily have just been 1 lightning and 1 grass energy, but no, they were like, yeah, 2 of each. So yeah, very strong attack to be honest. But yeah, that is Galvantula. Also worth mentioning is for those of you who have seen the Shrouded Fable set review that I did, there was a single prize Galvantula that basically does like 180 damage roughly for a grass and a lightning energy. So, there is some decent synergy there if you want a good single prize attacker. So that's cool. We also have a new Dashbun EX to take a look at, which does have a very strong ability, Full Meal Time, which says once in your turn, when you play this card to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may heal all damage from each of your evolution. If you do, discard all energy from each Pokemon healed in this way, and then Wonder Shine for 2 colors does 130 plus Confusion. So a very strong ability to have, to be honest. Like, I know Cheryl was really good because it was just a supporter card that you play. This is a Pokemon that you'll have to add to your deck. But even then, this does seem very strong. It does seem very scary, especially for decks that can ramp energy quite easily, such as Charizard. So, yeah, honestly, a bit scared of this card. Like, 250 HP does mean that Dash Button is a bit fragile. I know that, like, 250 isn't as fragile as stuff like Luminion, for example. So you're still moderately tanky, but you're not tanky to the point where it's like, oh yeah, this thing will be safe forever. This thing can be brought down pretty easily, but still. 130 plus Confusion also does mean that you can, if you really want to, lean into the more like control aspect of this card as well. So that's cool to see. So yeah, I definitely think Dashbun has some decent potential, but honestly, I prefer Galvantula, at least right now. Like, Galvantula seems really cool, but yeah, Dashbun still could be fun. We also have a new supporter card, Lacey. Shuffle your hand to your deck, then draw 4. If your opponent has 3 or 4 prize cards remaining, however, draw cards until you have 8 in your hand instead. So, not a bad card, to be honest, in decks that maybe just want to thin out pretty quickly and will have access to this card in the late game. So, like Luminion decks, God of War decks potentially, because you'll find this pretty quickly with Courier. So, that's kind of nice to see, could be a pretty decent card overall. Definitely not a card for every deck, and probably not a card that you want to be playing like too many copies of unless you don't mind the Shuffle Draw 4. But yeah, still a very good card in some decks. So expect to see Lacey to see a bunch of play. We also have this new stadium, which seems kind of absurd to be honest. Great Tree. So a new A-Spec stadium, very very cool artwork by the way, very reminiscent of like Studio Ghibli and such. But basically says once during each player's turn, that player may search your deck for a stage 1 Pokemon that evolves from one of their basic, put it onto that Pokemon to evolve it. If that Pokemon is now a stage 1 Pokemon, they can search your deck again for a stage 2 Pokemon that evolves from that Pokemon and put it to evolve it. Then that player shuffles their deck. Now, you can't use this effect on a basic Pokemon on your first turn or on a basic Pokemon that was put into play this turn. And the wording does mean that you can't effectively, pick a stage 1 and then evolve a stage 2. It has to be a basic to a stage 1 and then a stage 2. But that's still really good. This is effectively just like a more permanent rare candy, I guess. So we have to look at this from a few perspectives, really. Is it going to be easier to find than rare candy? Probably. I would say probably easier than rare candy because we do have like the Colorus tenacity to find a stadium and a special energy. You could argue that, well, you got Arven to find rare candy, but I still think it's pretty easy to find. There's also other ways of finding this in certain decks, like the Terrapagos engine could effectively mean the Noctowl could find this card. So if you want to find a stage 2 to pair it with Terrapagos, then it could be pretty solid. But honestly, this card does seem to have decent applications, right? Like we get a bunch of new stage 2s that are really strong. Like sure enough, like funny enough, like the Hydrapple actually that evolves from the Festival Diplin. Like you could maybe make the argument that if you're focusing more on Hydrapple than the Diplin, this could be quite good there. Or any stage 2 really like what was it, Incineroar that wants to copy previous evolutions attacks. This could be pretty good there. Seems like a very fun card to be honest. Now you are giving it to your opponent, which is a wee bit scary. I don't like giving my opponent stadiums that have great effects for their Pokemon as well as your own. But still, I do think this could be pretty strong. It's definitely not like the evolution boost that we need, I guess. I'll be interested to see what other people make of this card because I haven't actually seen any other opinions on this card yet. But I'm interested to see if anyone else thinks this could be really strong because it does seem pretty strong in most situations, but I'm curious, Maybe it's not enough to be an ace spec, but still a pretty cool card. But yeah, I think Galvantula might actually be the best card here. Like Fulgurite, item lock could be disgusting with like Mirage Gate and, Joltik is a bit scary. So yeah, it's crazy that Joltik is accelerating 4MG, turn 1 going second. Like that is bananas. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. It's been our power. And yeah, thank you for watching.